Billionaire's daughter, starving for weeks. Then the new black maid pulled off the impossible. Lily Harper picked up a plain silver spoon, ignoring the wooden one that had sat untouched. She dipped it into the warm broth, drawing up only liquid, no vegetables. Her hand trembled as she lifted it halfway to her lips, then froze. "Mommy," she whispered to the steam curling above the bowl, "I'll eat this for both of us so you can taste it through me." The first swallow slipped down her throat, her first in 2 weeks. Jonathan Harper exhaled a sound somewhere between a sob and a laugh. Naomi Clark smiled gently and took a sip from her own cup. "Needs a little pepper," she remarked casually, as if Lily's fragile choice to live weren't monumental. "It's good," Lily said in wonder. "It tastes like being held." "That's exactly it," Naomi agreed. "My grandmother used to say that good food should always taste like love, like someone cares enough to feed you." Lily took another sip, then another, small increments, maybe 10 spoonfuls before setting the spoon down. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. The kitchen scale confirmed the harsh truth in stark numbers. 52 pounds. 8 years old. 15 pounds lost in just 2 weeks. Her body was devouring itself while her father's team of doctors, therapists, and specialists watched, powerless. The feeding tube lay coiled on the marble counter, rejected yet again. Jonathan Harper, towering and tense, lingered in the doorway of Lily's room. His daughter appeared asleep, though her body remained rigid, curled inward as if she could disappear entirely. The monitor's beeps marked the slow decline of a child who had simply stopped wanting to exist. Then Naomi Clark did something no one in that 30-room mansion expected. Hired only that morning, she walked past nurses, security guards, and stern "do not disturb" signs, and lowered herself onto Lily's bed. She didn't speak. She didn't insist. From her apron pocket, she pulled a worn wooden spoon and began stirring the air above an invisible pot, humming a soft, ancient melody. Lily's eyes fluttered open. For the first time in 14 days, she looked at something with curiosity, not emptiness. What are you doing?" Lily's voice was a hoarse whisper, strained from weeks of silence. Naomi Clark didn't pause her gentle stirring. "Making my grandmother's soup," she said softly. "The kind that brings people back to life. But it only works if someone helps me remember the recipe. Soup can't bring people back," Lily said flatly. "My mom is dead. Nothing can bring her back." "You're right," Naomi replied, still moving her hands over the invisible pot. "But sometimes soup can bring the living back to life. Want to help me make it?" For the first time since her mother's funeral, Lily's curled form began to unfold. She sat up slowly, her eyes fixed on the young woman with the imaginary pot and real wooden spoon. "You're weird," Lily murmured. "Thank you," Naomi said quietly. "That's the nicest thing anyone said to me all day." Something shifted in Lily then, a tiny crack in the wall she had built around herself. Barely noticeable, just a hairline fracture, but enough for a sliver of light to enter. To understand how they reached this moment, we need to go back. 2 weeks earlier, the Harper mansion had been a different place. Not happy. It hadn't been truly happy since Margaret Harper's death 3 months ago, but at least functional. Lily ate small meals. She attended her private school. She went through the motions of life. Then came what would have been her mother's 36th birthday. Lily woke early, crept to the kitchen, and attempted Margaret's special French toast, the one with cinnamon and vanilla, always made on Sundays. The smell drifted through the mansion, reaching Jonathan in his home office where he had been hiding from the day's pain since 4 a.m. He found Lily standing on a chair at the stove, tears streaming down her face as smoke curled from the pan. "Mommy always made it perfect," she sobbed. "I can't even make toast right. I can't do anything right. If I'd been better, maybe she wouldn't have gotten sick. Maybe she wouldn't have left." Jonathan held his daughter as she collapsed, her small body shaking with grief far too heavy for an 8-year-old to carry. That was the last day she ate anything at all. At first, Jonathan thought it was grief manifesting differently. Therapists said it was normal for children to process loss in unique ways. But as days became a week, panic set in. Lily would sit at the table, stare at food, and refuse it. "I'm not hungry," she whispered quieter each day. Sweetheart, you have to eat something, Jonathan pleaded. Why? Lily asked. Mommy can't eat anymore. Why should I? Doctors arrived, pediatricians, psychiatrists, nutritionists. Tests were run, medications prescribed. Force feeding attempted only for Lily to make herself sick. A feeding tube was installed, then removed by Lily in the dead of night. She's choosing this, Dr. Harrison told Jonathan privately. This is psychological, not physical. She's giving up. Imagine how terrifying that must be. Your 8-year-old daughter, the only family left to you, fading away, and no amount of money can fix it. Meanwhile, across the city in a cramped Brooklyn studio, Naomi Clark stared at her laptop. Just 6 months out of culinary school, 23 years old, drowning in student loans, working 3 part-time jobs just to survive. The job ad seemed impossible. Live-in housekeeper for the Harper estate. Excellent pay. Too good to be true. Must be patient. Must be compassionate with children, Naomi muttered to herself as she packed. A crucial detail. Naomi hadn't been meant to work as a maid. She had graduated top of her culinary class, dreaming of opening her own restaurant. But her grandmother, who had raised her after her parents died in a car accident when she was 7, was sick. Medical bills were mounting. Pride was a luxury she couldn't afford. More than that, Naomi knew grief. She had lost her parents at nearly the same age Lily was now. She remembered the months after, the refusal to eat, the refusal to live, the numbness that followed. But her grandmother had saved her with patience, small gifts, and a secret soup recipe passed down 5 generations. This soup, her grandmother had whispered from her hospital bed the week before, doesn't just feed the body, baby girl. It feeds the soul. But you have to make it with someone. Share the stirring. Share the tasting. Share the story. That's the secret ingredient. Togetherness. She pressed the worn wooden spoon into Naomi's hands. Take this wherever you go. You never know when someone will need more than cleaning. Sometimes they need feeding. Not the body, but the spirit. When Naomi called about the Harper position, the agency didn't sugarcoat it. The family was in crisis. The child refused food. 7 nannies and maids had quit in 2 weeks. The mother had died recently. The pay was high because no one stayed. Tightening surged in Naomi's chest. A child refusing food after losing her mother. She knew that pain intimately. I'll take it, she said immediately. Little did anyone know that choice would change everything. The morning Naomi arrived at the Harper mansion, she was overwhelmed. 23, standing before a house that looked like a film set. Her beat-up Honda Civic seemed laughable in the circular driveway, dwarfed by Bentleys and Teslas. She smoothed her second-hand dress, gripped her single suitcase, and rang the doorbell. Chaos greeted her. Through the windows, she saw medical staff rushing, monitors beeping, and nurses exchanging urgent whispers. Mrs. Lynn, the head housekeeper, answered, looking drained. You're Naomi, thank God. We need all the help we can get. Lily had another bad night, pulled out her IV. Mr. Harper is beside himself. Mrs. Lynn led her on a rapid tour. The mansion felt more like a hospital than a home. Antiseptic in the air, machines everywhere. Silence instead of life. Your duties are mostly cleaning, Mrs. Lynn said. But honestly, Mr. Harper just wants someone here if Lily needs anything. She won't eat, barely talks, stays in her room. Don't take it personally if she ignores you. The last girl quit crying yesterday. It was too much for her. Naomi nodded, barely hearing. She was sensing the house the way her grandmother had taught her. Houses hold pain, but they can hold healing too, if someone knows how to put it there. The kitchen was her official starting point, but her fingers found the wooden spoon in her pocket. Suddenly she knew she had to go upstairs, not because anyone told her, but because the pain called to her, a beacon from the heart of the mansion, echoing the grief she had once carried herself. Naomi climbed the grand staircase drawn to the last door on the left. A small sign, written in what must have been Margaret Harper's handwriting, read, Lily's Castle. The door was ajar. Inside, Jonathan Harper sat slumped in a chair beside his daughter's bed, head in his hands. The CEO from magazine covers was gone. Here was only a father, powerless, watching his child vanish. Lily lay motionless, IVs in her arms, face turned toward the wall lined with photos of her and her mother. Smiling, alive. A world that still made sense. Please, baby. Just one bite, one sip of water. Please, I can't lose you too, Jonathan whispered. Lily didn't respond. She didn't even acknowledge him. Naomi should have left, started her assigned duties. She was just the maid, barely older than a child herself. What could she do that the doctors and specialists hadn't? But she remembered being 7, lying in a bed like this, her grandmother trying everything to get her to eat after her parents' funeral. Nothing worked until her grandmother stopped trying to force her and simply began stirring air with a wooden spoon, humming old songs, creating a space where grief and hunger could coexist. Naomi entered the room. Jonathan looked up, surprised at someone so young. "Who are you?" "Naomi Clark," she said, pausing, then adding with honesty, "I know I'm supposed to be cleaning, but I felt like I needed to be here. I know what it's like to stop eating because the world stopped making sense." Before Jonathan could speak, Naomi lowered herself onto Lily's bed. She pulled the wooden spoon from her pocket and began stirring the air above an invisible pot, humming the melody her grandmother had sung to her 16 years ago. Old, African, passed down through generations of women who survived the impossible. No English words, but meaning was clear. You are not alone. You are seen. Your pain is real. Lily turned her head slowly, studying this young woman, barely older than a girl, performing this strange ritual. "What are you doing?" Lily whispered. "Making my grandmother's soup," Naomi replied without stopping. "Haven't made it in a while?" "Can't quite remember. Was it 3 carrots or 4? Why are you stirring nothing?" Lily asked, a flicker of curiosity breaking through her numbness. "Oh, I'm stirring something," Naomi said. "Memory, hope, the space where soup will be. But it only works when 2 people make it together. That's the secret." "That's stupid," Lily said. Naomi grinned. "Maybe. I'm 23, still carrying my grandmother's wooden spoon, stirring invisible soup. Pretty stupid, but sometimes stupid things matter most. Like how my grandmother saved me with this same soup when I was 7 and my parents died." Lily's eyes widened. "Your parents died too?" "Yes, car accident. I stopped eating for 3 weeks. Figured if they couldn't eat anymore, why should I?" "That's exactly how I feel," Lily whispered, sitting all the way up for the first time in days. Naomi nodded. "I know. That guilt, the fairness, eating feels like betrayal. But it's not." Jonathan watched in disbelief as his daughter, unresponsive for 2 weeks, leaned forward with interest. "Did your grandmother make real soup or invisible soup?" Lily asked. "Both," Naomi said. "First invisible to practice remembering how to want it. Then real. But the invisible soup is more important. Know why?" Lily shook her head. "Stories," Naomi said. "Invisible soup is made of stories. Stories feed the parts food can't reach. Want to help me remember my grandmother's recipe? You won't have to eat. Just stir and remember." "I'm too weak," Lily said, but her voice held curiosity. "The first in 2 weeks." "Perfect," Naomi smiled. "Weak people make the best soup." "Strong people stir with force. Weak people stir with intention. That's what soup needs." 17 minutes later, something miraculous began. Naomi extended the wooden spoon, worn smooth from decades. Handle curved perfectly for a hand. "This spoon has stirred soup for 5 generations of my family. My great-great-grandmother carved it herself." "Want to hold it?" Lily reached out tentatively. Her thin fingers wrapped around the handle. The wood felt warm, as if it carried the heat of every pot of soup it had ever stirred. Naomi placed her hand gently over Lily's, guiding it to stir the invisible pot. "First ingredient," Naomi said, "is the story. We have to tell the soup why we're making it. Who needs it?" "My grandmother said soup without a story is just wet food," she added softly. "Who are we making it for?" Lily asked, voice trembling. "How about 2 girls who miss their parents?" Naomi replied. "One who's 23 and still hurts, and one who's 8 and learning that grief never fully leaves, but it can get softer." Tears pooled in Lily's eyes. "Softer?" "Yes," Naomi said. "Not smaller, just gentler. Like a rock in a river. Still there, but the edges aren't as sharp." For the first time in 2 weeks, Lily nodded to something offered with love. "Okay," she whispered. "Show me how to make the soup." The walk to the kitchen, usually 2 minutes, stretched into 20. But in that kitchen, with that wooden spoon and the centuries-old recipe, a miracle was about to happen. Not the miracle of bringing back the dead, but the resurrection of will, of desire, of life itself. Lily's legs shook as she rose. Jonathan immediately stepped forward to carry her, but Naomi raised her hand. "She needs to walk," Naomi said softly. "Part of the recipe is choosing to come. No one can carry you to healing." "But she can barely stand," Jonathan protested. "Then we go slow," Naomi said, offering her arm. "One step at a time. My grandmother used to say, the journey to the pot is the first ingredient." Lily grasped Naomi's arm with one hand, clutching the wooden spoon with the other. "What if I can't make it?" she whispered. "Then we stop and rest," Naomi said. No shame in resting, only shame in not trying. The hallways stretched before them like a marathon. After 3 steps, Lily's breath came in short gasps. The photographs along the walls, images of her and her mother, seemed to watch their slow procession. "Tell me about her," Naomi said gently. "Your mom. What was her favorite food?" Lily's face softened amid the effort. "Strawberry pancakes. Every Saturday. Real strawberries, not syrup. Smiley faces." "That's beautiful," Naomi said. "My mom loved peach cobbler. I was too young to learn her recipe, but I remember the smell. Cinnamon, peaches, butter. Sometimes I light peach-scented candles just to remember." 5 steps later, Lily needed to rest against the wall. Jonathan hovered, unsure how to help without interfering. "Jonathan," Naomi said, "would you mind going ahead to the kitchen? Get a pot, the biggest one, and a clean counter." "I don't want to leave her," he said. "Dad, please," Lily whispered, the first request she had made in 2 weeks. Jonathan practically ran to the kitchen. As they continued their slow journey, Naomi hummed the old melody again, offering Lily strength, or at least distraction. Sweat dotted Lily's forehead, but determination had begun to replace weakness. "These stairs," Lily said, looking down. "Mom used to carry me when I was little. Even when I could walk, I'd pretend I couldn't just so she'd carry me." "That's love," Naomi said. "Carrying someone who can walk just because they need to be held." "I can't do the stairs," Lily admitted, strength faltering. "Okay," Naomi said, "then we sit, and I'll tell you a story about these stairs." Lily looked at Naomi, confused. "You don't know our stairs," she said. "No," Naomi replied, "but I know stairs. All stairs have stories." Naomi helped Lily sit at the top step. She sat beside her, legs dangling like 2 kids sharing secrets. "When I was 8, Naomi began. "About 6 months after my parents died, my grandmother lived in a 4th-floor walk-up. No elevator. I used to sit at the bottom and cry because the stairs seemed impossible. 72 steps. I counted them every day." "That's so many," Lily breathed. "It was," Naomi agreed. "But my grandmother was smart. She turned them into a game. Each step we'd name something we were grateful for. Tiny things, silly things. By the top, we'd have 72 good things. Hard to feel completely sad after that." Lily looked down the elegant Harper staircase. "Maybe 20 steps. 20 good things. Think I can find them?" "1, Lily said, taking her first step down with Naomi's support. "The wooden spoon is warm." "Beautiful start," Naomi said. 2, you have a nice voice when you hum." They continued. Lily's voice grew stronger with each gratitude. 3, Dad tried to make Mom's French toast. 4, Mrs. Lynn secretly leaves flowers on Mom's grave every week. 5, the sun makes rainbow patterns through the window. By step 15, Lily was crying but still moving. 15, Mom's perfume is still on her pillow. 16, Dad sleeps in her closet sometimes when he thinks I don't know. 17, you understood about not eating. Jonathan stood at the bottom, tears streaming, hearing his daughter's voice, really hearing it, for the first time since Margaret's death. 20, Lily said, reaching the bottom, exhausted but triumphant. 20, I made it down the stairs. 10 minutes later, something extraordinary awaited. The kitchen looked transformed. Jonathan had not only pulled out the largest pot, but had arranged vegetables, herbs, and spices across the counter, like a show kitchen. Sunlight poured through open windows, the first fresh air since Margaret's passing. Perfect, Naomi said, helping Lily onto a stool at the island. Now for the soup. But first, something important. She placed the large pot on the stove but didn't turn it on. "This is my grandmother's healing soup," Naomi said. "It has rules." "Rules?" Lily asked tiredly. "Not rules like you must eat," Naomi explained. "Magic rules. Want to hear them?" Lily nodded slightly. "Rule 1, the soup chooses when it's ready. We cannot rush it. Rule 2, every ingredient must be thanked before going in. Rule 3, the most important ingredient is invisible." "What's the invisible ingredient?" Lily asked. "We'll get there. First, water." Naomi filled the pot halfway. "Not just any water, tears transformed into strength. Every drop honors grief." Naomi paused. "These aren't made up. My grandmother said the exact same words 16 years ago when I sat on a different stool, convinced I'd never eat again." "Jonathan," Naomi said, turning to him. "Would you like to add something?" I don't cook," he admitted. "Good," Naomi said. "This soup doesn't need cooking. It needs feeling. Pick an ingredient that reminds you of something good." Jonathan hesitated, then picked up a carrot. Margaret always said carrots were nature's candy. She packed them in Lily's lunch with a note, "Natural candy from Mom." "Perfect," Naomi said. "Thank the carrot, then add it to the water." "Thank the carrot?" Jonathan asked skeptically. "Just do it," Lily said softly. "It's part of the rules." Jonathan held it awkwardly. "Thank you, carrot, for reminding me of Margaret's lunches." He dropped it into the pot. The simple action released something inside him, a permission to be present, to be silly, to stop trying to solve everything with money and logic. For the next 30 minutes, the three of them built the soup together, step by step, story by story, grief slowly softening with every stirring motion. "You said." Each ingredient came with a story. Naomi added celery, telling them about her grandmother's garden, sun-warmed soil and plants tended with patience and care. Jonathan added potatoes, remembering Margaret's Thanksgiving dinners, the table crowded with laughter and warmth. "And Lily?" Lily held the wooden spoon, stirring slowly, watching the water turn golden from the vegetables. "I want to add something," Lily said suddenly. The first time she'd requested anything in 2 weeks. Jonathan nearly toppled off his stool. "What would you like to add?" Naomi asked calmly, as if this were ordinary. "Salt," Lily said. "Mom always said tears are just salt, leaving room in the body for joy." She stood on her own, walked to the spice rack, and brought the salt back. She held it over the pot, pausing. What if I eat this soup and it doesn't work? What if I'm still sad? What if Mom is still gone?" The kitchen fell silent except for the gentle bubbling. This was the real moment. Not about eating, but about accepting life continues even when we wish it wouldn't. Naomi took Lily's hand but let her hold the salt. "The soup isn't magic to bring people back," Naomi said gently. "It's magic to help us carry them differently. Your mom will still be gone. You'll still feel sadness, but you'll also be nourished, held, continuing her story, not ending it." "How?" Lily whispered. "Every meal you eat from now on," Naomi explained. "You're eating for both of you, tasting for both of you, living the life she wanted for you. That's not betrayal. That's honor." Lily looked at her father, who was crying openly now. "Daddy, do you eat for Mommy?" "No, baby," Jonathan admitted. "I've been eating to avoid feeling. But maybe we can learn to eat for Mommy together." Lily poured the salt into the pot. "For Mommy," she said. Then something extraordinary happened. As the soup simmered, filling the kitchen with warmth and aroma, Lily began to speak. Really speak. About the morning her mother died, finding her collapsed, screaming for help, the guilt of being at school when it happened. Jonathan pulled his daughter into his arms, and for the first time since the funeral, they cried together, the messy, healing sobs of shared loss. "Now," Naomi said, "the soup needs one more ingredient, the invisible one. The one that makes it work. What is it?" Lily asked, wiping her nose on her sleeve. "Forgiveness," Naomi said. "Not forgiving someone else. Forgiving yourself. For being alive. For wanting this soup. For maybe laughing again someday." She handed Lily the wooden spoon. "Stir in the forgiveness. Say it out loud." Lily stood on the stool, Richard steadying her, and stirred. "I forgive myself for being alive when Mommy isn't. I forgive myself for wanting to eat this soup. I forgive myself for maybe being happy again someday. Now you, Jonathan, Naomi said. He took the spoon, hands shaking. I forgive myself for not being home when she died. I forgive myself for not knowing how to help Lily. I forgive myself for failing to save either of them. Naomi smiled. Now we wait. The soup will tell us when it's ready. They sat around the island, 3 people connected by loss, soup, and an ancient wooden spoon. Naomi shared her grandmother's story, how she'd sent Naomi here knowing the Harpers needed their family recipe. Jonathan talked about Margaret for the first time without falling apart. Her laugh, her terrible singing, her way of making every day an adventure. Lily spoke of her fear she'd forget her mother's voice, her scent, the way she tucked her in. You won't forget, Naomi assured her. The important parts stay. They get woven into who you become. You'll see her in yourself more and more as you grow. The timer Naomi set went off. The soup was ready. Naomi ladled it into 3 bowls. Everyone had to eat together. That was the final rule. Lily stared at the golden broth, vegetables floating like little islands, steam rising like incense, the smell of comfort, warmth, and home. What if I can't? She whispered. Then you can't, Naomi said simply. We try again tomorrow and the next day. Until you can. No pressure, no force. Just invitation. Lily picked up a regular spoon, dipped it into the broth, just liquid, no vegetables, paused, and whispered to the steam, Mommy, I'm going to eat this for both of us, so you can taste it through me. She brought the spoon to her lips, the first swallow of soup in 2 weeks. Jonathan made a sound that was part sob, part laugh. Naomi smiled, tasting her own soup. Needs pepper, Naomi said casually, as if Lily hadn't just chosen life over the edge of slow disappearance. It's good, Lily said in wonder. It tastes like being held. That's exactly what it tastes like, Naomi agreed. My grandmother always said good food should taste like someone loves you enough to feed you. Lily took another sip, then another. Not many, maybe 10 spoonfuls, but it was enough. It was a beginning. The soup itself wasn't magic. The magic was connection, presence, and being seen. Over the next 3 hours, the kitchen transformed. Jonathan canceled his meetings. Naomi taught them both to make bread, explaining that soup always needed a friend. Lily ate 3 more spoonfuls and kept them down. They spoke of Margaret without the unbearable weight of pretending she had never existed. As the sun set, painting the kitchen golden, Lily asked, Will you stay? Not just as the maid, but, Will you stay? Naomi looked at Jonathan, who nodded. My daughter needs you. We both do whatever it takes. I'm not a therapist, Naomi reminded them. I'm just 23 with grief and soup. That's exactly what we need, Lily said. Someone who understands that sometimes you can't eat and that's okay. But also someone who knows how to help when you're ready. 6 months later, the Harper kitchen had become the heart of the house. Naomi was part of the family, not a maid, but Lily's soul sister. She had moved her grandmother in once hospice care ended, filling the mansion with the wisdom of elders and energy of renewal. Lily ate normally again, though some days were harder. On those days, Naomi pulled out the wooden spoon, and they made invisible soup until Lily was ready for the real thing. Jonathan had learned to cook badly, but with heart and presence, and each night they dined together. Occasionally, Naomi's grandmother or other families grieving loss joined them. The wooden spoon hung on the kitchen wall beneath a photo of Margaret. The inscription read, In this kitchen we feed bodies and souls. We honor the missing by living fully. We make soup and magic in equal measure. The most beautiful moment came on the first anniversary of Margaret's passing. Lily, now 9, strong but still tender with grief, taught another motherless child how to make invisible soup. First, she said, stirring the air with the wooden spoon, you forgive yourself for being hungry. Then you understand eating isn't betrayal, it's carrying them with you. And finally, she smiled at Naomi. The best ingredients are invisible. Love, hope, forgiveness, and togetherness. The new child, a 6-year-old boy who had lost his mother to cancer, took the wooden spoon carefully. Will it really help? He asked. It will, Lily promised. Not all at once, not perfectly, but one sip, one day at a time. That's how you remember how to be alive. And that's the best way to honor someone who can't be. Jonathan watched from the doorway, His daughter, who had nearly chosen to fade away, now guided others to stay. Naomi had done more than save Lily. She taught them that grief and joy could coexist, that healing often happens in kitchens rather than hospitals, and that sometimes the youngest among us carry the oldest wisdom. The Harper mansion was no longer a house of grief. It had become a house of healing. Soup was always simmering, the wooden spoon always ready, and anyone who had forgotten how to eat could learn that nourishment went beyond food. It was about connection, forgiveness, and courage. The courage to keep tasting life even when it seemed bitter. Eventually, Naomi opened her restaurant in the renovated east wing of the Harper mansion. It was called the Invisible Soup Kitchen, serving both real and invisible soup to anyone needing to remember how to be hungry for life. The motto above the door, in Margaret's handwriting copied from an old recipe card, read, "The secret ingredient is always love, but forgiveness makes it digestible." Lily, Naomi, and Jonathan had learned that presence. Empathy and shared rituals could heal where money and medicine could not.